Attorney, you want me to stop here?
We got 3 minutes.
There we go. Inform the board that by unanimous vote, the Executive Committee of the Florida Association of Counties nominated Ms. Ginger Delegal, did I pronounce that correctly, Commissioners? The FAC's current General Counsel and Deputy Executive Director to serve as the Association Executive Director. Ms. Delegal has been serving as Interim Executive Director since February 9th of 2017. Item 11, remind the board that the Camp Gordon Johnson Day event is Saturday, March 11th. The parade, of which you commissioners will be participants, begins at 10:45 a.m. However, parade lineup starts at 10 a.m. Also on Saturday, March 11th is the Carabel Airport fly-in event. This family fun day will start at 9 a.m. It's free of charge. They have planes on display and a helicopter ride for a fee, not for free, for a fee.
Okay.
Item 12, remind the board that the Eastbourne Firehouse Annual Charity Rib Cook-Off will be the following Saturday, Saturday, March 18th. The gates open at 9 a.m. There's no admission fee. There'll be a rib cook-off contest, a silent auction, a liar's contest, just kidding, live entertainment, and ride and face painting for the kids. Barbecue dinners will be served from 11 a.m. until all the food is gone. And the final item attached to your agenda packet is the information provided at the Thursday, February 23rd Weems Board of Directors meeting. The recent financial report is included in that packet.
Now, you said there was gonna be a liar's contest, and that's what you got listed here, but then you say you're kidding.
No,
So is there gonna be a liar's
No.
contest or not?
You didn't look up and say I turned to Mr. Pierce when I said liar's contest.
Oh.
I thought he was going to participate,
Okay.
but he didn't.
Okay.
He didn't take the bait.
So there is
Yeah.
gonna be a
There is
liar's contest?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have anything for Mr.
That's
Morone?
it for me this morning.
We'll now move forward into public hearing on public nudity. Mr. Schuler?
The proposed ordinance banning public nudity.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
That ain't what it says on my paperwork, but it's a good thing we have an attorney here.
I didn't draft that.
You faded them, didn't you?
Well, Commissioners, before we get started with the public hearing, does the board have any questions for me before I begin? Are there any public comments on the proposed ordinance banning public nudity? Well, Commissioners, this is something no one really wants to talk about, so I guess the lawyer has to talk about. I'm just glad Ms. Brown didn't look at me when he said there was a liar's contest. I was kind of impressed with that. We already have on the books a current ordinance banning public nudity. It had been my intention this morning to address this ordinance and the ordinance regulating adult entertainment, but the ad that I sent to the paper was inadvertently not published. The only ad that was published and that you're in a procedural position to move on this morning is on the ordinance banning public nudity. The only real difference between this ordinance and the one that you had previously is the two ordinances were combined together as having two subject matters in one ordinance originally, and my plan now is to break them out, have one ordinance that addresses banning public nudity, and this is a rather lengthy ordinance, and it's required to be very detailed, so that's why it's so long. It has been reviewed by the outside consultant, Dr. Eric Damian Kelly, that you authorized me to consult with. He is the attorney and college professor who is a First Amendment expert who's been dealing in these issues from what I can tell the last 20 or 25 years. And he has reviewed the amendments that I have made. He has made some further amendments, and what you have before you today would be the final proposal for your consideration for adoption. And we do believe that this ordinance would survive any constitutional attack based on the current state of the law as we understand it to be. And if there are no public comment and there's no questions from the board, I would recommend a motion to approve.
Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Massey, second by Commissioner Sanders. Any further discussion from the board? There being no public comment, no other comments from the board. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries.
I will schedule a further public hearing. I don't think I can get the ad to the paper in time for the second meeting in March. So absent some emergency situation, the board will be considering the new ordinance regulating adult entertainment at your first meeting in April.
Now, look, real quick, Mr. Schuler, When you're talking about adult entertainment, and then you got the state trying to pass this bill where we cannot regulate any kind of business or anything else, how's that going to work? If they pass this during this legislative session, then this would be,
I don't think that they would necessarily intersect improperly, but I would have to wait to see what the final version of the bill is. But at this point, I don't it's not my understanding of the super preemption bill that it would deny the board the ability to regulate the local morality and values of our community, regardless of whether, it's technically a business or not.
okay. Next on the agenda would be second public hearing ordinance to amend the C2 commercial district,
Yes,
business district.
I don't think that's actually scheduled to be held until 11:10.
11:10?
I've got a couple of items I could go over. I have another personnel policy I need the board to consider. Under the latest version of your personnel policy adopted in 2013, all the references therein were to a position that no longer exists because you had transferred certain duties that were once a responsibility of the clerk over to your county or your Director of Administrative Services. That position has been eliminated with the retirement of Mr. Pierce and is now being fulfilled by Mr. Morone in his capacity as the county coordinator. So what I'm proposing for your consideration is that you adopt a policy that deletes all prior references to the Director of Administrative Services in your personnel manual, and you replace it with the county coordinator. Because, for example, during grievance proceedings, you would actually grievance proceeding yourself and take testimony and things of that nature. One of the changes that you made was to have the Director of Administrative Services actually oversee and conduct the hearing with a final appeal to the county commission, but there would not be, any presentation of new evidence. All the evidentiary stage would occur with the Director of Administrative Services. In this case now, if you make this change, that all of those, the evidentiary hearings would be conducted by the county coordinator, again, with the final appeal to you as the county commission to make the final decision.
Pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion to approve because we need to do that to clear up the records.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Sanders,
Second.
second by Commissioner Massey. Any discussion amongst the board members? All those in favor? All opposed? That motion carries.
Commissioners, in early December of 2016, I believe Mr. Pierce or maybe Mr. Morone had presented to you a request by the United States Air Force to extend a lease for 5 years for a portion of your airport property here at the Apalachicola Airport. We have received a further communication from the United States Air Force saying they have now discovered there was a gap in time between 2008 and the time that you renewed. And according to the airmen that I have been communicating with, the Air Force wants to close that gap, so they are requesting a further action by the county commission to authorize the extension of the lease from the period 2008 and extending it additional 5 years from today until the year 2022. If the board should approve the concept of extending the lease, they will then prepare the lease and send it to me for your further consideration. Don't ask me why the Air Force wants us to do this twice, but they want you to agree to extend it, and then they'll send me a lease to review, and I'll bring you the lease for your consideration.
What portion of the airport is that we're speaking about?
That microwave tower, there's a microwave tower out there by the airport that they use, a very small area.
Where's Mr. Puckett?
Probably left
He
already.
reported and left.
Yeah. I do apologize. I had that information the last time when the original contract, and
So they got a microwave tower there.
I think it's a microwave tower they have out there.
I ain't got no problem with that.
Hopefully that's what it is. That's
Well,
what they say it is.
they did not necessarily send me a description with this letter request. All the action that you're doing today is agreeing that you want them to prepare a lease that would lease the property, closing the gap from 2008 until December 2016, and then an additional 5 years out from that. So we'll have a lease with a legal description for you to consider when they finally get around to sending it to us.
But, have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lockley. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sanders. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries.
I'll find out exactly where it is, Commissioner. I'll send you an email.
Just as a final update to the board, the mediation conference has been scheduled for April the 6th. This is for the mediation conference that will occur in the last pending lawsuit by Capital City Bank against Franklin County. And I'll report back to you at some point individually about that report after Mike and I, actually, Mr. Pierce is attending on the board's behalf. And that's all I have for the board this morning.
Michael, you have something for the board?
No, I'm sorry.
Are we within our time to start the public hearing, Michael?
Commissioner, if I'm reading my bifocals right, that is 11:10 based on the clock and on.
11:08. Satellites.
Well, then it's 11:08. But we can't start prior to the advertised period for
I'll
conducting.
let you know when it hits 10.
Can you entertain us in the meantime?
Won't you do a little dance for us there?
Tomorrow.
Well, that's the only thing we have really left on our agendas, is this second public hearing.
Yes, sir, that's my understanding.
Any commissioner want to make a comment while we're waiting here?
Well, I can tell you this, it's not part of the public hearing, of course, but conversation. That the last meeting where the board had given me some directions on making some additional final amendments to the proposed ordinance that you'll consider in, 2 minutes? Was to reduce the maximum annual penalty from $5,000 annually, reduce that down to a maximum of $1,000 would be one of the changes that I proposed to the board. And then also taking out the reference to the collection to the TDC tax. To me, that you're not adding anything to the ordinance by taking it out. You're not adding or deleting from the ordinance by leaving it in. But I think the board had indicated you wanted to honor the request from some of the property owners to take out the requirement that resort condominium hotels and motels would have to collect tax. And we can take that out. It doesn't affect their legal obligation to collect the tax if they're otherwise required to collect it. So, but otherwise, my recommendation is going to be that the board adopt the proposed ordinance as I have otherwise submitted it to you.
All right, sir.
All right, we will now proceed with the second public hearing, ordinance to amend the C2 commercial district.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Well, this is your second and final public hearing on this ordinance. You've had to conduct 2 public hearings because you are actually changing, by adding an additional land use category to your C2 zoning. The statute requires you to have 2 public hearings before you can adopt. You have already previously, by a supermajority vote, authorized conducting the second meeting at a time other than after 5 p.m. So I think that you are procedurally in a position that the board can act to adopt this ordinance as you have had it explained to you in prior public hearings. And as I was just mentioning to the board before the public hearing started, my recommendation is to address 2 changes that have been requested by the property owners. The first change is their request to remove the requirement to collect the TDC tax and also to reduce the maximum annual penalty from up to $5,000 annually to up to $1,000 annually. Otherwise, the ordinance would, my recommendation is that the board consider adopting that as it was originally drafted and discussed in the prior public meeting. Does the board have any questions for me about the proposed ordinance? Is there any public comment?
Hi again. I will keep this really short and sweet. I really appreciate y'all. My name is Kelly Sowell, and I'm here to represent the Homeowners Association of the Bungalows by the Gulf. Let me start by saying how incredibly grateful we are for your patience and tenacity. This has been a long journey, one of which you didn't even have to take. We came into this process as outsiders, but you never once treated us that way. You saw a problem, sympathized with our situation, and took action. We are tremendously thankful to you. So with that, we hope that you will conclude this matter by voting in favor of this ordinance change. We thank you for listening to our concerns last month, and although we would rather not burden your staff with the annual reporting requirements, we very much understand the need for accountability. We will respect and adhere to those requirements, for we have never wanted to be considered anything but a positive impact to your county. We have proven that over the years with the school supply drives, the Christmas giving to the rehabilitation center, the adopting of our coastline, and most recently adopting a 2-mile stretch of Highway 98 through the Adopt a Highway program. We want to continue to enjoy and preserve Franklin County, and we hope you'll give us that opportunity by voting yes for the ordinance change. Thank you again for your time.
Any other public comment? Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve as written and as recommended by our attorney.
I second.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Sanders, second by Commissioner Massey. Any further comments from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I oppose. It's the end of that. Okay, next will be public comment. No public comment? Commissioner comment?
I got, what this letter here for? On this, engineer,
I'm sorry?
well, can you, what this?
That's on the building part, what you talked to me about this morning.
I don't know how this got in here. Oh, she did? Okay, yeah, this isn't part of your packet, Commissioner. This is an information thing for me. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me read it, I'll let you know. I'll send you guys an email. I apologize. Gotta ask her why she did that.
Any other commissioner comment? No public comments? Meeting's adjourned.
Adios.
I'll look at it. I'm sorry, it kind of caught me off guard there. I'll look at it and get back to you.
Yeah, I was